Hey, John Gilroy here. The North Star has provided mariners with guidance for thousands of years. Today, we look at a different kind of North Star for the federal procurement process. Hit the music, Manny. Welcome to the Federal Tech Podcast, a podcast that connects you to federal technology leaders. My name is John Gilroy, and I'll be your moderator. We have two guests today. We have Brian Seagraves. He's the Chief Technology Officer for Deep Water Point Associates. And we also have John Millward. He is the Chief Operating Officer for ADDX, ADDX, ADDX Corporation. Gentlemen, how are you?
Great, thank you.
Doing great, John. Thank you.
Today, we're going to focus on the federal contracting landscape. And I just want to maybe set the stage for this so you know which direction we're heading in. And I got a lot of listeners who are previous guests. You know, I got 1,200 previous interviews, all kinds of previous listeners. Many of them are government contractors. And what they do spend their days, I think, is searching through countless RFPs and RFIs. Their heads spin at the end of the day. I'm sure at the end of the day, they say, is the juice worth the squeeze? And even if they find something, they have to act quickly in order to respond. So they can be left hurting for certain. That's a technical phrase for you, Brian. Hurting for certain. So in this podcast, what we're going to do is we're going to sit down with two corporate executives, and we're going to share the challenges contractors face when tracking and responding to task orders submitted from large GWAC vehicles. So in conjunction with Deep Water Point Associates, they will discuss how GWAC North Star can help alleviate some of these challenges. Well, John, that was probably a fancy introduction. So tell us what your company does, John Millward.
I appreciate it, John, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. ADDX Corporation, we were founded in 2002. We're a top secret cleared solution integrator. We tenaciously deliver innovative and leading edge capabilities to the federal government and intently apply our expertise, people, process, and technologies that focus on modernization, operational sustainment, and readiness opportunities across the federal government. We're a service-enabled, veteran-owned small business, and we look forward to talking more about our capabilities as we discuss our use of the tool here.
Great. I like the word tenacious. I think of a dog with a bone or something and not letting go and really going after something aggressively. But Brian, I think he can give us some enlightenment here. A lot of times, you may be pursuing the wrong bone, or you may have to select which bone to chew on. So, Brian, how can Deep Water Point help companies like John's select the right bone to chew on?
Yeah, that's actually a good one. So good metaphor. So, Deep Water Point is a consultancy that helps federal contractors with their business development. We provide all variety of management consulting services from strategy all the way through pipeline development to capture, proposal, and pursuit services. And we built this product North Star to address the exact problem you're talking about, that there's a paradigm in the market that there will be too many opportunities released for me to evaluate them all. And that I have to pick from among the ones presently in front of me and bid those. And so the whole market is wired around using people to log into portals, to quickly scan and screen opportunities that have been released to them on their contract vehicles by looking at the title, looking at the first few paragraphs of scope, and then maybe reading a solicitation for 2 hours only to discover that there's some showstopper in there, like it requires a CMMI level 3 for software, and I only have CMMI level 2. Now I've spent all this time reading things I can't bid. In fact, if you follow the Pareto principle, if only 20% of the opportunities fit a company really well, and they spend with resources to evaluate all the opportunities coming out, that means that 80% of the time of those people is spent reading things they're not going to bid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the current situation is very expensive, low productive, and sometimes because you can't get enough people to read all these things, you don't read some great one and it goes by, and you spend all your time reading things you're not going to bid. So that's the problem we set out to solve with North Star.
Yeah. So John, at ADDX, so what are your growth strategies? You're trying to increase business, of course, specifically with GWACs and these multiple award contracts. Now, how do they fit into your strategy?
Absolutely. So, obviously in this marketplace, being on the right vehicles at the right time is everything, right? And being able to support our diverse set of customers needs a, GWAC-like vehicle. And so, luckily, we've been able to get ourselves on position and win prime positions on these GWACs. And then, through meeting with Deepwater Point and learning about this tool, we really saw the value of being able to, really go through all of this detailed amounts of opportunities, whether they're sources, SOTs, RFPs, and do it at a rapid pace. Where we were getting slogged down, as Brian described, right, the opportunity cost of potentially spending time and energy on opportunities only to find out we could not pursue, and therefore missed out on another opportunity. This is a velocity capture model from our perspective. We're trying to get more opportunities out the door, more responses out the door rather than what we did the previous year. Because we're a small business, we have limited resources to dedicate to strategic capture. We need to make sure that we can apply the capabilities that we currently have via our past performances or our technical SMEs and be able to hit the customers, whether we have been marketing to them ahead of time or not. When we see the need, we are able to respond and potentially offer a different solution that they have been looking for previously. So it's really been powerful in helping us zero in and really be capability focused rather than only customer focused as we were before.
So Brian, you look at your window, you probably see a dogwood. Spring here, 2025, a lot of changes taking place all over the place, maybe even downtown DC, maybe in the federal government. From your perspective, so what about this disruption and acquisition? Is it just all stopped? Is it still continuing, or is contracts are being awarded, aren't they?
The flow of task orders, let's just take these GWACs, multiple award schedule, Oasis Plus, Alliant, Astra, all the GSA vehicles, right? If we just look at those, and Seaport even, which we've been having inside Northstar that our subscribers are using, so we can see what's actually coming out. And the volume that's coming out is on the same pace as last year. It's on the same growth curve. But what we're expecting to happen now, because of we have a continuing resolution for a full year of funding just signed in March. So now a full year of funding needs to be spent in 6 months. Okay. And then we also see that the administration has said we want the GSA to be the source for contracting for IT solutions and services. So the vehicles John's talking about that he has there, Oasis Plus, SDVOSB, GSA Mass, those vehicles are going to see even more volume coming out because of that. Well, we have about, you're seeing the headlines. We saw these contracts cut, all these billions of dollars of unspent total contract value ceiling eliminated. And then some cancellations, some stop works, and then also some headcount reductions in the agency. There's a couple things to keep in mind about the way the federal budget works. Those funds are still with the agency. They haven't been rescinded by Congress. They haven't been impounded by OMB. So you have funding available to purchase under this continuing resolution things that do what those people were doing. So there's a whole lot of pressure on the system that we think is going to result in an unprecedented spending season between now and September 30. Huge volumes of solicitations coming out, and they're going to come. Look, there's been 1.9 announcements to get to an award on GSA Mass, a multiple award schedule. 1.9. Now, what are those two announcements? An RFP and Q&A. So if you're going to expect to do an RFI and respond and go talk to the agency and everything, that's not going to happen this year for all of that spending. Maybe it will for some. They don't have time to do an RFI and then talk to everybody and then do an RFP and get it out. You'll see that process happen for some, of course, especially ones already underway. But there's going to be a lot of bam, right to RFP. And our position is this is a huge spending opportunity. They don't have a preferred contractor for a lot of this work. They're just putting out an RFP. Don't assume it's wired for somebody. Do what John's doing. If it fits you and you have the resourcing available to do a bid, put your hat in the ring.
So, John, I want to go from bidding to the contract itself. I talked about dogwoods, and in about 3 weeks, look out the window, the dogwoods are going to be gone. Things have changed. And so what happens, after being awarded the GWAC vehicle? What are the challenges you have, John, after being awarded a GWAC vehicle?
You obviously have to monetize the vehicle. And so that takes investment, right? And so the company has to decide, to what level of investment do you want to push, right? And so again, as a small business, we need to be efficient with our overhead. And so, again, we have to do more with less. And so really from a utopian society, right? You'd love to be able to assign an account manager to handle that vehicle inside, say, the Air Force account or inside, say, the Coast Guard or DHS account. And, ask them to go find opportunities, work with the customers to drive work to the vehicle. That's the traditional sense. Now we need to be more reactive and, again, take our capabilities and see how we can make them fit and how we can leverage our partner network to bring partners that potentially can do that work while they might not have a position or have a socioeconomic stance to do said work on a project, right? And so from my challenge, right, is that's really where I'm proactively taking a step forward, right? Leveraging tools here like North Star to not only identify where my gaps are quickly, but then I can challenge my team and say, hey, anybody have a network or a company that we've worked with? We've got our internal search, but it's a network game. It's who you know. And so who can we call and rapidly bring that capability or that partner to play and respond, right? These turn times are anywhere between 10 to 14 to 21 days. And so how can we quickly move the ship, respond in a compliant and a compelling fashion, bring in a compliant price and go to market. And so if we're able to rinse and repeat that, our velocity is going to be up. And again, I've got metrics that I can talk about with regards to compare and contrast what we did in a 6-month period from October 23 to April of 24, and what we've done from October of 24 when we started using North Star to now. And we're up probably about 112% for output without changing any of our staff.
Whoa, that sounds like a T-shirt. That would be good for a North Star T-shirt. So, John, for the benefit of my listeners, I mean, I think Brian mentioned before, but so which GWAC and multiple award vehicles does that have?
Yes, sir. So we're positioned on a couple of the MAC contracts. So we're on the MAS schedule with multiple SINs. We're on the Oasis Plus as a small business and SDVOSB in domains 1, 2, and 8. Which is basically the PMO, the technical and engineering and logistics domains. We're on Seaport Next Gen, Army RS3, ABMS with the Air Force, the EWAC, Air Force GWAC, and the FAA EFAST. With North Star, we leverage them to work through Seaport opportunities, our Oasis opportunities, and our MAS schedule. We're trying to discover different ways to use EFAST, but that's a different way to how they source their opportunities. But we see that there's a way to do that here in the future. So we look forward to discovering that together. But again, before, it's hard, as Brian indicated. You had to log in to your Seaport portal, pull down each document, go through the multiple attachments and do that manually. This tool does all of that in a synopsis basis, right? It extrapolates the scope. It pulls down all the documents. It matches my preference matrix to what I'm looking for in the ideal customer or the ideal opportunity and gives me a score of 100 to 0, right? And so naturally, my eyes are going to the higher scored opportunities. I spend my time there, fly through it. I've got a team of 6 other capture managers that do the same. And that's where we get our scale and our mass. And then we have meetings and kind of agile processes to take those from identification to bid to submit.
Well, you got a good before and after story with North Star. Just for the benefit of our listeners again here. So, John, do you get a lot of announcements on these vehicles in a typical day or week? How many do you get anyway?
So as a snapshot in time, between Friday and this morning, we have 60 new opportunities to review, analyze, and make a, interested, pursuing, not pursuing kind of decision as a team. And those range between market research announcements and actual RFQs. I'd say it's probably a 30-70 split between RFIs.
So, Brian, let's maybe do a before and after here. So let's say John Gilroy Software gets 60 of these or something. And so how would they do it before North Star? And how, I don't want to think about this. How do it, let's say, for example, before North Star, then after North Star for a small company?
Yeah, I had this job, that the idea came from this. I had that job is I had put together a team, won a contract vehicle, and I made promises to my team members about scope that would go to them that they could lead the bid on. And then the pipe opened and there was no way for me to keep up with it. So before, what you do is look at the title. Should I open this one? Okay. Just from looking at the title, the name of it. And then you might open it up and you read the first couple of paragraphs of the scope and say, is this, and then make on judgments like that, try to pass them out to people. Now, what often happens on a Monday where you got 60 and you're running a team is you just flush it. You just give it all 60 out to all your team members and you try to waste all their time because you don't have the time to do it for yourself. Now, the after situation is the product North Star is logging into the source portals on behalf of the subscriber every 2 hours every day, collecting everything new since last time it was in there 2 hours ago. And then AI is reading everything, and it's AI that has been configured, like John mentioned, by a preference profile, my choices for what I'm interested in. And it's reading all that, then it's saying, hey, boss, this one here, very high fit to your choices. These others down here, don't think you need to read them. They have these really low scores. And it's just doing that continuously. So you're saving all of that time, and you're able to actually keep your commitments to your team members by only forwarding them things that fit them so they can help you bid. And then, like John said, you're able to move your BD staffing downstream of collecting and reading to just read the ones that fit what you define as your preferences and work those. And as John said, you start day one getting the best team members lined up, through your network to get somebody that closes your gap. Not 3 days later when your competition starts because they finally realize we got a good one. We read this one. We're starting 3 days late, and Addicts has already come in and take the best team member.
So, John, I'm looking at these 60 opportunities here, and I'm thinking about a management consultant named Patricia Fripp, and she's a great saying for management people and work. And she said, "Don't do well that what you should be doing in the first place." And so you could respond real well to all 60 opportunities, but that could be a waste of time. I mean, this whole time, John, you're managing people's time. I mean, there's, we only have 40 hours a week, and so it's almost like a time management tool, isn't it? I guess.
I think, again, it's more a resource allocation and efficiency, right? And so, before, in the dark ages, no, you would just, again, you would have unlimited amount of churn on opportunities that were non-starters to begin with, whether because they had the correct buzzwords in the title. How many opportunities did we all open up before tools like this that had the word cloud or modernization or systems engineering?
Yes, cyber. I know.
So again, and then those words are in the title for a reason. They want competition on these bids. And so this allows, again, to my team, every person on my team has a different background. Every person on my team has a different challenge or a different partner set that they're working with. They, inside the system, can then set up a preference for their specific needs and wants. And then me at the corporate level, I can have a kind of a kitchen sink model that catches it all. So they're looking at their individual domains, which fits their market or their capability sets, and pursuing that, with tenacity. And then I almost have the catch-all, which then, if that hasn't been brought up in our, daily meetings, I say, hey, has anybody take a look at this? Is this something the team would like to respond to? And then I'll take that for action. And so that's how we're kind of catching it all. And it's really allowed us, again, to increase the throughput. And in today's marketplace, being at the right place at the right time is important, because we're seeing on these vehicles, while there's a lot of folks on the GSA Mass, while there's more contractors on Oasis Plus, the requirements are still receiving, 2 to 4 bidders consistently. Yep. And okay, that's a 50% P win if I'm one of 2. And okay, that's better than a 0% chance. And so I got to get in the box. I got to swing the bat more as a small business if I'm going to try to do any sort of growth in this marketplace today.
So, Brian, you were on the show maybe 6-8 months ago, and in the last 6-8 months, so many changes have been taking place. There must be adaptability and continuous monitoring, continuous improvement. We know the buzzwords. So what changes have been incorporated into the GWAC North Star since we last spoke?
We've added additional contract vehicles, like, for example, Seaport, and Addix is one of the first customers for Seaport. Seaport's a very difficult to use portal. It really makes it's more inefficient to use than eBuy by far. And so customers have been asking for that, and it's taken a lot for us to get it working right because of the way that portal works. But we have it down. And then second is we've been fine tuning the way we use the artificial intelligence so that we're increased our throughput time. The time we spend analyzing this from between we've collected it from like Seaport or eBuy, and then when we have it in the client's portal, that has dropped substantially, and we're getting more and more productive with that. And the reason it's not fully automatic is because we have human analysts that are checking to make sure that the AI annotation is accurate. And we have been collecting their data when they make corrections, and we found consistent patterns in those and are able to improve them. There's a lot on the drawing board that we'd like to do with the product. We have to get our sales up further in order to be able to finance that. And we're actually in discussions with taking in some outside investments so that we can go even farther faster.
So, Brian, we talked about 8 months ago. What about 8-10 months from now? What's on the horizon for GWEC Northstar?
One of the things customers ask us about, prospects especially, but current customers as well, said, okay, I have these contract vehicles, but I don't have these others over here. And I would like to be able to bring my wares, maybe if I'm a technology company, a product company, I'd like to bring my products to the primes that have a need for them because some solicitation that's invisible to me came out on the prime's vehicle. So we have conceived of a product that we're calling Insight. It's a working name. It's in the development roadmap. Just design is started on it. It's really a small extension of what we're already doing, which is that would be able to identify a customer, do a preference profile like John did for Addix, and they would indicate these are the things that my software does if I'm a software vendor, or as a small business, these are my strengths. These are the things that I do. And then with this subscription, we would be able to tell them, hey, there's a solicitation that came out on this vehicle you don't have, let's say Alliant 2. Or if you're a product firm, you're not going to have any of these service contract vehicles. Here's the name of it. Here's a brief description. And here's what it's seeking from that is relevant to you and what you perform. And you ought to call these prime contractors to talk to them about that opportunity so that they can put their best foot forward. So it's kind of like the reverse of what John was talking about. The prime is looking for subs to close his gaps. Mm-hmm. This is telling firms that don't have the vehicle, there's something going on in the vehicle relevant to you. You can't give them the solicitation because they don't have the vehicle, but we can tell them about the solicitation. Yeah. And then help them go bring to the prime the best technology, the best service partner, so that the government gets a better response from the market on that solicitation. Yeah.
So, John, you are the Chief Operating Officer for Addix, and you got a horizon too. So what do you look at the next couple of years for you folks?
We really look to continue focusing on, the modernization and the operational readiness of our clients. The Department of Defense is an integral part of our business plan. We've got some really great customers inside of the Space Force that is going to be a critical and integral part to the development of the future defense of this nation. And so we look to leverage the GWEC Northstar to pursue opportunities to help grow our relationship with the Space Force and their additional customer sets. We look to find the innovations inside the marketplace. Obviously the artificial intelligence wave is here. How does that generate efficiencies across the services industry is going to be impactful. And then how do we do more with less across these services type contracts? Because that's going to enable differentiation and help increase market share because the new requirements are hard to get in front of, right? And so in order to grow, we have to be able to win work from incumbency positions. And so that takes not only being at the right place, but bringing new ideas to a customer that has kind of been set in their ways.
And Northstar is a new idea for many of my listeners, huh, Brian? It's I pick up the newspaper and you kind of depressed at some of the headlines, and I don't know who's writing the headlines or what information they're picking and choosing. But it's springtime. Things looking good outside. And both you guys are very optimistic about 2025. And thank goodness. I mean, yes, there's opportunities there. There's going to be obstacles, going to be barriers. But, Brian, you've had barriers in the past, too. I mean, you've been beat up and knocked around, and you just have to push through.
That's right. Every new administration comes in and says they're going to be cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, and they always have changes in direction and things. We're seeing all that now, only maybe with a lot more attention and actual effort to produce those reductions than we have seen in the past. So I think it's a good thing all around. If wasteful spending is reduced, it doesn't mean that the agency's budget is reduced. Okay, so if headcount is reduced, the budget is still there. Unless Congress does a rescission or OMB succeeds in an impoundment of funds, those funds are there. And so this administration is going to want to get its initiatives underway ASAP. I think when we see the skinny budget on April 30, which is the 15-page president's spending priorities, which are intended to communicate about FY26 budget that they want to build, they're also the priorities for the spending with this CR now. And as I just said, there's a lot of sort of available funds that could be spent on those initiatives. So that's why we think this is going to be the biggest spending season probably in my career. And customers need to be doing what John does. Look at everything that fits you and bid every one possible, because this is the time when the system's unfrozen and there are going to be abilities to get in and become a new provider to an agency.
Yeah. And if you're interested in more information, I'm sure you can type in Deepwater Point and Associates and find more information, maybe talk to Brian or all kinds of testimonials from people like John on, let's go forward on this, because it's all kinds of opportunities are still there. So that's great.
You can see a little video, 2-minute explainer video about North Star on Deepwater Point's website, which is dwpassociates.com. And there's a video, just look at GWAC North Star, and you can see what it looks like and how it works.
Yeah, that's great. Well, John, thank you. Brian, thank you. We're running out of time.
Thank you, John.
You have been listening to the Federal Tech Podcast with John Gilroy. I'd like to thank my guests, Brian Seagraves, Chief Technology Officer at Deepwater Point and Associates, and John Millward, Chief Operating Officer at Addix.
Thank you, gents. Very good to see you.